is your first and only two-time DOGG heavyweight champion, Breaker Moran, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop to Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
The Alliance Vlog, the Alliance Vlog, the Alliance Vlog, the Alliance Vlog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Alliance. That's me.
Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast live stream presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information, kinda, for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal. His name is DKM. His name is Jaden. We're the Alliance Guys, and we've been proudly serving you, this community of that hashtag NWA fam, for damn near 16 years. Guys, how you doing?
At the Alliance blog, we all fam.
What was that?
And the Alliance blog, we all fam. What are you, racist? At the Alliance blog, we're all family.
I just
Alliance blurg. That's what I'll say from now on. Alliance blurg, we all fam.
It's good.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you hit those TikTok trends like 3 months after they debut.
Yes, I follow them on Reels, which is the real way the men do it.
That's how the elderly do it.
DK?
Don't ask me.
Hey, for the record, DK's on TikTok.
Yes, I know. He was apparently trying to do dances with you.
Yeah, we had a great one. It lasted for like 3 days.
Okay.
So, hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be back. Glad that you guys are here with us. I want to say what's up to my friends, Luthez, Jeremy, Steve G's in the house. Noob is here. Willie Bowen, Sean Mega, Zilla's here. What's up, Zilla? And Noob is asking the question we're all asking, and that's Yo Willie. Where's our tire stroke of the night?
Besides his wrestling career?
What's that?
Besides his wrestling career? You know, you did say that you're only kind of the number one source for pro wrestling news for the National Wrestling Alliance. I've seen this mask guy. He was like glazing you left and right in the line in front of the arena, talking about you, talking about how you are the number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance.
Let me make something perfectly clear. I believe that nobody talks more NWA in the world of podcasting and streaming, whatever you want to call this, than us, than this channel right here. However, alliance-wrestling.com is my baby, and I've been neglecting it as of late, and I could say that honestly. I could put my hand over my heart and say I wish I had more time to do more with that website, because it is an institution. It's the website of record. That's where this all started from. And there's just not enough hours in the day for me to get in the website content creation. I plan to try to get back to it, and we have our good friend Lamb Sum, who you might know as Championship Wrestling from Hollywood Fan, CWFH Fan on the social medias. He does put some stuff up on the site, so I do appreciate that. But at one point we had 3 or 4 people working on that site, and now it's kind of just me and Lamb, and I just don't have as much time as I'd like to contribute to that site.
Well, at least we don't have to call see Child Protective Services on you for the neglect of your website.
Yeah.
Oh, Willie Bones got a short joke.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let me see. I got a Rolando Freeman joke, and that was Rolando Freeman is trash. He could lose a match in a daycare center. Okay. Is this the pivot? Is tonight the pivot? Is tonight the night that no more Tyrus jokes? Now they're going to be Rolando jokes? What's going on here?
Well, Tyrus has been, gone for a while.
He died?
Well, even worse, he's on Fox News.
Oh, that is worse.
Well, yeah, you know who else was on Fox News recently? Did you see that Bubba Ray Dudley showed up on Fox News on the whatever that tire show is? I don't know what it's even called.
Gutfield.
Yeah.
Gutfield, got something. He, Bubba Ray, and the Undertaker, and Kane, and I think one other wrestler have rotated through.
This isn't a politically driven podcast, obviously, and I struggle with the fact that you have. I'm a business owner, and I like to think as a businessman, and I try my best not to alienate anybody, right? Like I have political beliefs and I have values, and Jaden and DKM know those because we converse offline all the time. I try not to spread or share my political beliefs and values here on the Alliance Guys or on the pre-party or the Alliance blog, just because I feel like that could potentially alienate my market. And, and I understand that we're in a very divisive time here in the United States, but I still feel like, wrestling is something that could transcend those political beliefs. I feel like wrestling is a place to talk about anything but reality. So I try not to get involved with that stuff. I try not to let that seep into here. And it always kind of baffles me when the wrestling talent lean into those conversations, whether it be Batista on the left or Kane on the right. I just never really understood why people want to vocalize that. I feel like you're going to alienate part of your audience when you do that.
That's why my political affiliation is anarchy.
There you go.
I'm an anarchist. I make a good punk singer.
It doesn't surprise me.
Well, a lot of them now are, of course, retired and don't give a flying flip.
Yeah, and I get that too. Because I never knew Hulk Hogan's political affiliation when he was running wild in the 80s, and I guess it didn't really matter back then anyway. And you don't really. I never heard Undertaker talk about politics while he was in the ring. It wasn't until after he was retired and in the Hall of Fame that stuff kind of came out. Same thing with Kane, and look at. I don't go to any celebrity, any sporting figure, any musician. I don't look to any of those people to tell me what I should believe in. I'm going to go ahead and do that myself, and I recommend everyone do that. Don't look to celebrities. Half these people are not role models. Half of these people I would not let my dog emulate, let alone my children. So I steer clear of that, and I let everyone make up their own mind.
And that's the way it should be. No businessman should have a political opinion unless their business is their political opinion.
Boom. That's it right there. If you're in the business of politics and that's how you make your money, then yeah, by all means. But I think in any other aspect, if my political beliefs are different from my customers, I still want their business.
Yeah, the only color that matters is green, and the only politics that matter is so Hulk Hogan doesn't do jobs, brother.
Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan.
Huck.
That's how you say it.
Huck.
Did you hear about Haktua Girl?
Haktua Hogan?
Yeah, Haktua Hogan. She came up with an alt Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, but a cryptocurrency, an altcoin, and I guess she pulled the rug from everybody. And I wouldn't invest in crypto either, but that's not a place for this show either.
Actually, Dogecoin. No, I'm just kidding. I just like saying Doge. That's my friendly Doge.
Doge.
Yeah, it is a fun saying word, Doge.
It is fun.
Doge.
I think that's part of the reason why it was so successful is because people just like to say it, and who doesn't love a corgi, right?
I got 2 Doge. One right on the bed, but the Doge.
Our pal Sean Mega says the Discord community is fun and better than the old board. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. It's hard for me to stay up to date with that too. I actually came on for a little bit today and was reading everything, and it's the great thing about the board is there's no it's open 24 hours a day, and you guys definitely utilize that. I get notifications in the middle of the night like, oh shit.
I tell you to mute them. I really tell you to mute them.
So like yeah, I need to mute everything on my phone. I'm constantly getting notifications about everything, and
I sneak on when I can, but it's if I had to listen to that, I wouldn't be. My phone will be dead in 20 minutes.
Well, one of the greatest things about going on vacation to a country where your phone doesn't get decent internet, like it didn't work, even the Wi-Fi was shaky at best, and it was nice because I didn't hear anything. It was quiet. Did you guys highlight that, or did I highlight that from Tim Wilcox?
You must have
accidentally.
Say that again.
I think I accidentally did.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
I sometimes lose track of whether I'm on the YouTube page or the other page.
Got it. Yeah, I hear you. Steve G asked me if there's any updates with Chris Bay. Unfortunately, no. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but he had a pretty serious injury at the Impact tapings recently, and I guess they were fairly life-threatening. And I know that he stabilized. I know that he's okay, but there's probably, I don't want to speculate on whether he'll come back to the ring or not. That's not what's important right now. What's important is that he's just okay. But it was pretty extreme, and I know that they're doing a lot of fundraising for him. And hopefully, I hope that his medical bills are taken care of. If not through the fundraising, maybe someone from Anthem can step up and help take care of him, because it happened in a TNA ring. But real scary stuff. I haven't heard everything about it, but I think it was a neck injury, and hopefully he is okay. God willing. Chris Bay, a big fan of Chris Bay. I started watching him when he showed up in Port Hueneme with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And seeing the maturation process that he had going from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Future Stars of Wrestling to becoming a regular in TNA Wrestling, and even having opportunities to wrestle at New Japan Strong and all that stuff. Great guy, great heart, great human being. I hope he is well enough to get back into the ring someday. But first and foremost, just get home and have a reasonably healthy life. Really, Bo, where are you going with this? I don't want to see either of that. None of that. No, I'll pass on that.
Which one is the adult?
Neither. Luth says he misses Fred's bitching. He's on Facebook. You can add him on Facebook, Lou.
He actually, congratulations, Fred. He's now working for a town. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly which town.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's out of his fourth or fifth retirement now, and he's now got the reins to Plumstead, New Jersey, the Plumstead Township, which is technically also New Egypt, New Jersey.
Well, good for him.
What does he do for?
He is a there's a lot of writing in this thing, so I'm trying to go through it. Administrator for Plumstead Township in New Jersey. It's whatever an administrator does. Apparently he's going to be charged of, man, this person can do a lot of words. I'm a fast reader. He's in charge of the town. That's the best I could figure out.
Like a mayor?
He is in, not every state has a mayor. Some have other positions out there. So he is in charge of working with the township committee for the police department, the EMS, the fire department, the board of education, the municipal utilities authority, and to help anyway the good people of Plumstead and New Egypt.
Oh,
So it sounds like a city administrator.
Yeah.
Here we'd probably call him a city manager.
Yeah, we that's what we call him here too.
New Jersey's going to be different. We pump them gas.
Well, in several states, mayors are the executives. And in other states, there's an employee that can be called different things: city manager, city administrator, city whatever. And they answer to council, and mayor's more of a ceremonial position in chair city council meetings. So like in LA, Jay, the actual Los Angeles. So is that a mayor manager setup?
No, in Los Angeles there is an actual mayor, but the city I live in now and the city I used to live in both had the honorary position of mayor. And the last city I lived in, the mayor that was the honorary position actually worked himself into a real job, like with real pay and everything else. Like it was this big old scandal in the city. And I'm like, that sounded so shady and how that all happened. And I don't know all the details, but it went from like an honorary position to, he was like, yeah, I'm the mayor now, and I need to have a salary and a private car and stuff like that. It's just so wild to me. And then in the city I live in now, it was actually when I first moved to the city, I met the mayor, and he was actually a good friend of mine. He passed away, unfortunately, but he was they rotated with city council members, and they would have that title of mayor, but it was, like you said, it was just symbolic. It wasn't an actual position.
Yeah. It happens.
Local politics. Yay. Just politics on the show.
I was once the king of South Jersey wrestling.
You still are in my heart, buddy.
Well, Gladiator is the #1 wrestling promotion in South Jersey. And soon to be actually kind of almost North Jersey. I'll tell you about that tonight.
Nice. So I see New mentioned that Markova has been very busy hyping up Looks at Kill and the first ever women's steel cage match. She's definitely drawing that mainstream audience despite her being an independent wrestler. Yeah, I mean, first of all, good for her. I did see where her and Brian Idol were on local television recently. And number one, gotta make sure the wife's not here. She's getting better looking. I don't know what's going on, and I'm not trying to be a sleazeball here, but
yeah, you are.
Huh?
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. But like, look at that.
Well, if you're not trying, then you just are one. Is that your point?
If you're not trying to be, he's saying it's just naturally occurring. And also, I think it's because it's the less makeup. I think she looks more natural and doesn't have that fake look that she does inside the ring, where she looks overly done.
Do we know how old she is?
74.
No.
I don't know.
Made me spit out my hot Cheeto. I don't know how old she is, but let's see if we can find out on a cage match.
A woman never tells. Why do you gotta use cage match?
Tell me a better site and I'll use it.
I wish Hisa was still around.
Hisa is still around.
Yeah, but we don't talk to him anymore.
The great Hisa?
Yeah, I don't see him on the message board or on the Discord, I guess.
Hisa comes on he comes on the pre-party.
Pre-party, I like him.
She's 35.
Okay, that sounds about right.
I always like Hisa. I hope you tell him to come on the Alliance podcast next time.
Speaking of the Alliance podcast, next week we're gonna have Danny Deals.
She's gonna be selling stuff?
Maybe. He might.
Well,
he
can only come on if he offers a really good deal to all the listeners that night.
Hashtag, put the Alliance blog in the special code to get a 30% off deal.
Yeah, something like that.
Or 70. I like 70.
I'd probably buy something underneath those circumstances.
Yeah. Okay. I need to stop eating Cheetos because it's stopping me from doing my job.
You have a job?
I consider this a job.
Oh, okay.
I can't believe he's going on the Ultimate Warrior and refuses to do the job.
Well, it's not the first time. Tim Wilcox asked the question, did you guys watch the Juggalo Championship Wrestling show yesterday? What are your thoughts on the NWA guys appearing on there? And Colby testing out a heel persona. Should the NWA get Willie Mack?
Yes, on the Willie Mack part. All right, rest. Let's go.
No, and yes. The last time I watched a Juggalo Championship Wrestling show was probably in early 2000s on a VHS tape. And I think I got it for free. I don't think I would have ever paid for that. And it was pretty terrible back then. And nothing has really inspired me to go out and pursue it. And I'm not trying to talk shit about Juggalos or ICP or their fan base or any of that stuff. And honestly, they use some pretty good talent. Like, again, I'm a big fan of the Southern Six. I'm a big fan of Willie Mack. It's just, I don't think that's meant for me. It's nothing has pulled me in. And like I said, they're using talents that I like and I respect, but it hasn't pulled me in because I just don't care. And there is so much wrestling out there. Like I would rather watch NXT if I have spare time. I'd rather watch NXT than the Juggalos. And that's, again, not to try to dismiss them. And if you're into it, that's cool, man. Enjoy. I'm of the variety of that. If you can find a wrestling product that you like, go with it. And we've talked about this. We've talked about that on this show lots of times. I grew up in the 80s, and I was the first person in my neighborhood to have cable TV. And I was able to watch at a young age, the WWF programming. I think it was Superstars and Challenge. I'd watch Glow. I would watch CMLL on the Spanish-speaking stations. When I found out TBS had wrestling on it, I was watching it Saturday mornings and Saturday afternoons. And anytime I could, I would watch wrestling. I'd even watched Pro Wrestling This Week with Joe Pedicino and his wife, whose name I can't remember right now.
Bonnie Blackstone. Any forget about Gordon Foley?
What'd you say, DK?
I knew Jaden would remember.
Bonnie Blackstone? I just love Pro Wrestling This Week, and honestly, and Bonnie Blackstone, she actually started off as a fan for his one of his shows in Atlanta, and you know what? More power to him. He landed that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, Joe Pedicino wasn't a handsome man, wasn't a thin man, and so I guess for me, what I'm saying is, like, anytime there was something new that I could watch, I would watch it. So I remember, like, I would surf the UHF channels, and I found an independent called California Championship Wrestling. And when I remembered it was on, I would watch it. Years later, we would find at the Sportatorium, we'd find a Global Wrestling Federation. I would watch that. I would watch on ESPN Classics, the AWA. I would watch on Prime Ticket. I would watch ECW. And this is the evolution as I grew up. I would watch all this stuff. And I think if you can watch it, if you can find it, check it out. If you're into it, keep it up. There's so much content out there that I don't think you have to settle for mediocrity when it comes to your pro wrestling. And that includes the NWA. If you're not digging it, there's no shame in finding something else that you do dig. I think DK and I watch it now for the sake of we want it to be good. we like the talent that's there, and sometimes we have some positive things to say about the program, but more often than not, we're disappointed. And if DK wasn't on this podcast, he probably wouldn't watch it at all. Is that correct, DK?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'll always have a soft spot for it, so I would always, like check it every now and again, but watch it regularly, nah.
Yeah. And I know DK grew up in the Sportatorium in his backyard, so he was watching World Class. He was at some of those famous World Class showdowns with the Von Erichs and Ric Flair. I mean, he has a wealth of wrestling knowledge. He's been around too. And Jaden, living in New Jersey, like he had everything, like Puerto Rico, the Mid-South, you name it, Jaden got to see it, right?
We had 23.5 hours of first run professional wrestling on in New Jersey a week. And as a tape trader, I was able to get a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to get. So I always enjoyed all of that, because that was kind of cool to see not only stuff that I, in my area that I was able to see, but also stuff that I wasn't able to see. And we were able to take that footage and transfer it back and forth. Plus going to local, and going to WWF and NWA events at the Civic Center and the Spectrum and the Hamburg Fieldhouse. And then going to independent wrestling events, and later the National Wrestling Alliance with Dennis Carluzzo. So I've seen it all and done it all when it came to the wrestling that day as a fan. And, can't wait to hopefully one day find some wrestling that I enjoy watching again.
What was the original question?
What was the DK?
What was the original question that got us started on this?
Well, that's actually what I was going on. Is I enjoyed early ICP, and I love Chicken Hunting as my favorite song from them. And wrestling wise, I think the best thing they did was the theme song for the Oddities.
Better than the theme song for Vampiro?
Vampiro, yeah, I liked it better than the song they did for Vampiro, because I thought the Misfits did the song for Vampiro.
So the Vampiro with the Misfits was later, I believe. Vampiro with ICP and I can't believe I'm forgetting the Great Muta. Jesus Christ, the Great Muta, Vampiro, and the ICP went by the name the Deadpool in WCW in his first incarnation, before he had the Misfits in his corner, and that was kind of like that was shortly after his feud with Sting, I think. And
Sting.
I want to say they won the tag titles. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I think they did. Now,
yeah, I like the Jerry Only and the Misfits too, but I like them better than one of the ICP, probably.
Sure, I get that.
Nobody's better than Tool, except for maybe Perfect Circle. I should probably say that. Twist that around.
So yeah, no, they didn't. Oh yeah, they did. The Dark Carnival. That's what they were calling them. The Great Muta and Vampiro as the Dark Carnival. I thought they called them the Deadpool. Anyways, and that
they might have started with one thing and changed it.
Yeah, Disney might have gotten involved, or probably Marvel at the time.
Yeah, well, this was early, like this was like in 2000, so even Deadpool was around. It wasn't as big as it is now. It was Vampiro.
No, remember, Warner was and all them. They own DC Comics.
Yeah, it was Vampiro, Shaggy, Two Dope, Violent J, the Great Muta, and then later the Demon, but not the Kiss Demon. He was still the Demon, but I think they quit calling him the Kiss Demon at that point. Anyways, all that to say, no, I don't watch Juggalo Championship Wrestling. I have no problem with NWA talents appearing anywhere, as long as they're not, when you look at the NWA, who is their legitimate true competition, right? Like, I wouldn't even say United Wrestling Network, because they're, for the most part, not really running enough events. There's Memphis, and if I'm comparing Memphis to the NWA, I think the NWA wins. If I'm comparing the NWA to MLW, MLW is going to bigger venues and they run more frequently than the NWA. And then it's not even a comparison with TNA Wrestling or AEW or New Japan Strong or the WWE, obviously. Right now, really, the NWA is more or less a glorified indie. Even some of the promotions they've partnered with, Coastal Championship Wrestling, CCW, that runs way more frequently than the NWA, and in more areas. They do, like they've been out here in California, they do Florida, they do Tennessee. And I know that the NWA with the territory system, it's starting to kind of evolve. We're seeing things change, but I mean, who is the competition for the NWA at the moment? And
good booking.
It's really just other, mom and pop independent promotions. So, having the Southern Six or Colby Carino show up in JCP, it's not hurting the NWA. It doesn't tarnish what they're doing there, and it doesn't affect it. I don't think people are all of a sudden tuning into one program because of the other. If they are, that's great for whoever's getting the windfall from that. But, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. And then the last part of that is, should the NWA get Willie Mack? Willie Mack is somebody I've watched his entire career. Like, I saw him as a fan sitting ringside, same side that I was sitting on. And he evolved from just a fan to not only a great wrestler, but one of the most entertaining wrestlers I've ever seen. And when I've seen Willie Mack in Mexico, how the fans just eat it up. In Tijuana, he is over more than you could imagine. And he's an amazing performer for his size, for what he's able to do. I can't remember anyone getting hurt by Willie Mack. I can't remember Willie Mack sustaining a very serious injury. He's been a part of Ring of Honor. He's been a part of Lucha Underground, TNA Wrestling, obviously. And he works a lot for Lucha Libre AAA, works a lot for The Crash. I love Willie Mack, but I don't think that Willie Mack is concerned about being locked up somewhere. I think he's completely content with just traveling the world and getting booked everywhere.
How old is he now?
What's that?
74. He asked how old he was.
Now.
Oh, he's probably about 35, but I will find out for you.
74.
Everybody's 74 tonight, according to Jay.
He's 37.
Except for you, DK. I don't want to make you younger.
Oh. So, he's a former national champion. He left through some scrupulous means, and I feel like, I'm sure Billy Corgan would let bygones be bygones, but I remember the NWA was very upset with how he was basically forced to leave the NWA. He was getting booked regularly. He was the national champion, but because of his contract with Lucha Libre AAA through Lucha Underground, he was pulled from upcoming NWA events and then somehow mysteriously signed with TNA Wrestling shortly after that. So I have nothing against Willie Mack. I love Willie Mack. I'd love to see him in the NWA. I just don't think I don't think he cares to tie himself to one promotion for too long. And do you guys want to add to anything on that?
Well, I can add my quick answers to it. Do I watch a Gigolo Championship Wrestling show yesterday? No, I never watched Gigolo Championship Wrestling. Never have, never will. What are your thoughts on NWA guys appearing on there? Don't care one way or the other. Colby testing out a heel persona. Colby's been a heel most of his career. So, he kind of became a face in the NWA because by the time he came back in to challenge for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, it was on a heel Kerry Morton. Should the NWA get Willie Mack? I don't care if they did or didn't. I don't think it would make a great big difference to the NWA or Willie Mack one way or the other. I don't think it would help either one of them just much. Might hurt Willie Mack since the NWA, since Billy books people in weird ways.
Yeah.
And isn't championship spelled wrong in that company?
Yeah. Well, it was. I don't know if it still is.
Okay. That's what I thought. Not quite that word. So what's going on with the NWA? I heard there's some things coming up.
Yeah, they've since 2007, it's been championship wrestling. And their previous champions, let's go, if you want to go all the way back, Evil Dead held the title back in 99. I think that's when I started watching it. Vampiro, Sabu, Vampiro, Briar Wellington, Shaggy Two Dope, Briar Wellington, Nosawa, Kid Cash, Tough Tony, Terry Funk, Madman Pondo, Corporal Robinson, Trent Acid, rest in peace, Corporal Robinson, Madman Pondo, Corporal Robinson, Butler Jeeves, Too Tough Tony, Officer Colt Cabana, Corporal Robinson, Too Tough Tony, Necro the Butcher, The Rude Boy, Too Tough Tony, The Weed Man, Congo Khan, Shane Mercer, Teddy Hart, Too Tough Tony, Vampiro, Joshua Bishop, Willie Mack, Matt Cross, Willie Mack.
It's Necro Butcher, not Necro the Butcher.
Oh, did I say it wrong?
Yes, you added too many N's there somehow.
Hey, these are some strong allegations you have right here.
And a few too many T's, H's, and E's.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what's going on with the NWA?
Well, I want to get some more comments. I want to talk more to the fans. The fans. We don't have fans. We have family.
In the blurg, we have fam.
So this Tim says, I feel like Billy having a JCW of his own, SPW, would allow him to experiment and get all of his stupid booking ideas out there for an audience that would appreciate it more. I mean, look, the thing is Billy has the NWA. Billy also has NWA Chicago. I don't think either one of those are great booked shows, so I don't feel like I don't want him to have another wrestling promotion unless he's going to go do Wrestling Society X and give me the NWA.
Hey, that gives me a weird question.
Go ahead.
It's NWA related, but I think we can talk about it since it's not show specific. So Max gave up the women's title.
Yes.
They filled it at NWA Chicago.
Yes.
And we haven't heard a damn thing since.
No. No, we haven't.
So why did they fill it so quickly? And I think didn't it get filled after the TV tapings that they did?
They filled it after the 76.
Yeah, but, they did the TV tapings that we saw about 3 weeks worth of, which is another conversation.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they filmed it after Tampa.
And so it's just been weird. It's like they couldn't wait for an episode of Power to fill it, so they filled it in Chicago. I don't even know if Chicago's had another show since then. And it's like, okay, they put it on Big Mama. It's like one of the few times they announced a title change that hasn't been shown. And to what benefit? I mean, they've ignored it ever since. So somebody help me understand what's going on.
Billy smokes crack.
Well, I don't argue that.
There's a little something in those pumpkin seeds we don't want to talk about.
No, he's straight edge. You're right, DK. They did crown the champion at the Super Smashing Halloween event that took place on October the 18th. As far as the NWA goes, October the 18th, I'm looking up the tapings for Saw Win. The Saw Win tapings happened on the 26th. And so, I mean, it could have, it was after the 76th anniversary show. It was after the Riot Fest events, and it was before the tapings, or after the tapings in Tampa. So then they went from Tampa to Highland Park, October 18th. Then they did Saw Win back in Tampa. And as far as I can tell, I don't think Big Mama was on that card either. And I think the next time we might see her will be at Looks at Kill on December 14th in just a few weeks.
In Dothan, Alabama.
That's right.
Daddy
Well, at some point, they're going to need to actually,
So I guess the rush to put the title on her, I think they wanted to fill the vacancy. I think it was a mistake because that title was vacant going back to the territories. And they could have filled that spot at the 76th anniversary show. I just know that would have, they were crowning the number one contender. They were having the women's title match. They have the women's tag team title match. I feel like maybe that would have been too much of an emphasis on the women's division for the NWA. Ultimately, they did not crown the champion that night. All the women were in the Burke Invitational. So I guess from that standpoint, it wouldn't have made sense to crown that champion. But I think it would have been a good idea to have crowned that champion and been at the TV tapings. But they didn't. They waited till Chicago to crown that champion. In fact, they could have done the TV tapings and crowned the women's champion. They could have had a battle royal at the TV tapings, but they didn't. And we haven't seen Big Mama since. And I don't know why they did like that. But we have a phrase here on the show that's called Billy booking, and that's Billy booking.
Didn't Big Mama appear in the Burke?
Yeah, she was in the Invitational.
Okay, I just want to make sure I remember that correctly.
Yeah,
I remember making it a Married with Children joke.
Uh-huh.
Well, the interesting thing is, Big Mama wins the title in a four-way over Hollywood Haley J, Natalia Markova, and Tiffany Neves. Three of whom have had big matches and are having at Saw Win, and are having big matches at Looks at Kill, and we don't know anything about Big Mom. So they put her over some of their top talent in a promotion that's not seen. They announce it, which they never do, and we don't know what the heck's going on since. So, I mean, this isn't just Billy booking. This is Billy logic altogether.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well, then Tim brings up another good point. It's like the NWA is trying to take itself both seriously and be comedy, and it's counterproductive. It makes both half-assed.
True.
And I don't think anyone would argue with you on that, Tim. Like, I had a rant last time I was on the air about how stupid I thought the Smalls and Rolando matchup was, and how that didn't make any sense to me. That they did a ball sack joke for like 6 months of TV.
That's nuts.
Yeah. It was a short joke, but it kept going and going and going and going. It didn't make any sense, and I don't know who benefited from any of it. But that's
now they replaced Rolando with Aaron Stevens.
Yeah. I'll be right back, guys. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, fine.
Good. Now that he was gone, we could talk trash about him.
We talk trash about him when he's here.
Yes, but now we don't have to have him defend himself.
That is true. That's just like people like that. They always think they're so important.
In my opinion, I think they really should have put the title on Markova, the TV. That would have built Markova up, and then for an eventual championship reign for the heavyweight world. I guess women don't have heavyweight championships, do they? But for the world title, I think Markova would have made a good TV champion. I don't know why, because they're doing it on Max. Because I didn't see a little bit I saw Max at the 76. I wasn't really that impressed. And it's hard to be impressive in a battle royal, I know, but still.
Well, I don't know. I guess next week we see her against Carson Drake again, because Lord knows that's what we all want to see.
I didn't mean Max, I meant Mama.
Oh, Mama?
Yeah, I meant Mama.
I've only seen her a couple times, and I'm not impressed with her, but I mean, I still need to see more. I don't know why they rushed to put the title on her than just to ignore the title again. I mean, this should have been their chance to relaunch the title.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I think it's just Billy wanting to mark out to himself and put something on his own wrestling event than to actually do something for the greater good of the NWA. There's something called a SPO. It's self-put over. And while Billy Corgan's really good at putting himself over, that's the only thing he's good at putting him over in any way, shape, or form. and he puts the focus on him too much and what he wants for his own benefit, not for the benefit of the company he runs. And that's the problem with about 97.9.3967218 pi $ percentage of wrestling promoters.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I mean, you're right about that last thing, but he's in some ways very simple, in other ways very complicated, and I'm not always sure when it's simple and when it's complicated with him. And it's just, I'd really like to be in his mind.
Uh-oh, what the hell's wrong with you?
Well, I mean, long enough to see kind of how it works.
That's called an acid trip.
Well, but like,
just go run your head into a wall after doing acid. I probably would give you the same effect.
I'm not going to do the acid, but what I don't know is like, I guess what I don't know is like, is it just he forgets what he's doing and goes and does something else? Like it was kind of like when they did the women's tag team title. And one of the things we noted was like, did he have any plans for the title afterwards? Because it certainly didn't seem to appear that he did. It's like
all part of his 20-year plan.
You know, that wasn't in it. And they wanted they wanted tag team champions. They wanted to fill a title at Empowered, give the women another title. So they did tag team champions. It was like, well, yeah, but he never had any plans past Empowered for what to do with those women tag team titles.
Please don't give them the idea to create a women's national championship, because that's already being overdone in other companies right now.
Oh, just does it make you want to cry that there's going to be a U.S. and Intercontinental champion?
I'm going to go on the record on this one. I think that there needs to be more women's wrestling purely for the overall growth of the sport. The women's demographic is definitely underutilized in professional wrestling, and I do remember, I'm old enough to remember the Crush Gals and the ability of All Japan Women Pro Wrestling to completely captivate the country of Japan and believe that it could happen in the United States if somebody knew how to do it. And I think it is important for the overall growth. I just don't believe that they have enough women wrestlers to justify in both Raw and SmackDown 2 world women's champions, 2 secondary champions, and 1 tag team champion.
Really?
Yes, I don't think they do have enough.
Because there's no argument as to whether they have enough to support the tag team titles.
Yeah.
The WWE women's tag team titles aren't that much better than the NWA's.
He is correct. And honestly, what it is you need 8 unique challengers for each belt. So 8 unique challengers for both world's women's titles. That's 16 wrestlers plus 2 champions. So that's 18 wrestlers. Then you got 8 challengers for each of the secondary belts. So there's another 18 challengers. And maybe you could take and mix and match those to make for tag team challengers. That's a lot of women wrestlers that they would have to constantly have on television at all time to be able to justify every one of them earning those spots. And they don't, if they had their own women's program, I think that would be different. Like, I wish they would unify both the women's titles and whatever these secondary belts are and just make a brand with 1 women's championship, 1 tag team championship, and 1 secondary belt, and have them defended on also the Raw and SmackDown shows and whatever syndicated show they may still do through the international market. I think Main Event's still around, but I think that's what they should do, is they should find a program to buy, to put on an all women's product, to give them their own spotlight too. Because again, I think the financial reasons, I know Jim Cornette and a lot of other people don't agree, but I think financially speaking, it's wise to have a lot of women wrestlers, because women's wrestling is not going to get better unless there's a lot of women's wrestlers out there. There's going to be, there's not a lot of Charlottes and Beckys and and Rhea's out there, but the only way they're going to develop is to constantly have new women wrestlers coming through the pipeline and have women want to be wrestlers and get out there and make themselves that big star. And so to do that, they have to make the women's wrestling appealing for those people and use that women wrestling to draw more than just perverts looking at people's butts and leaving comments on YouTube pages. DK.
Do you think Liv Morgan is a superstar?
Yes. Oh God, yeah. Wrestling wise, she's not up there on the level when it comes to Becky or that, but personality wise, she's a superstar.
What about Bayley?
Bayley's too. Bayley's actually a better wrestler than I think she is. I think Bayley's lost in the shuffle right now. Well, Bayley had more wrestling ability than almost every woman wrestler in there, except for the top three. And I'd even say she might have a little bit more than Becky. Even though Becky's still really good. Asuka's amazing, but they'll never use Asuka right because she doesn't speak English, and they don't know how to use Asuka correctly out of her NXT days. Asuka got screwed by not winning the women's championship back from Charlotte back at WrestleMania, and I 1,000,000,000% believe she never recovered.
Would you say the same thing about like Kairi Sane and Io Sky?
Io Sky and Kairi Sane, I even say it's even worse. They were never. Damage Control had some marketability, but they were never used properly, and I don't think they ever will be used properly because the WWE doesn't know how to use international talent to their fullest potential. Hell, they don't even use Rey Mysterio to his fullest potential, and that says something. And they have over the years.
That's just that. Like when you said that they don't have enough stars, those are the names that came to my head, and I'm thinking, man, they do have a lot of potential. Like, and I'm not arguing with you. I don't think they used Asuka the way that I wish they would have used her. You know, she was so impactful in NXT, and if they would have just hit copy, paste, and repeat and put her the same character, the same everything on Raw and SmackDown, I think she would have been way over. But, you know.
The funny thing was they started that way.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them, they blow the moment they bring them up. And, you know, Karrion Kross. And you would have thought with the way that they started out, because they kept her undefeated streak going. They made a big deal of it. In fact, they kept her undefeated streak even in tag teams. And, you know, not only did she never lose on a singles thing, she never lost the tag team thing. And I don't mean like her getting pinned. I mean like her teams never lost.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was real weird. And then they did the thing with Charlotte, and Charlotte won. And I could even see that as the swerve, but then you got to go back and give it back to her. Instead, the next thing you know, Carmella's the champion, and she's getting all these weird wins over Asuka by strange ways. Well, now you've just killed the character. This was a woman that was, you know, as small as she was considered like a Nia Jax type, you know, monster.
Yeah.
And then you just weren't getting that. So I will say this much. While there's a lot of stuff that Paul Levesque is getting right in WWE, just as far as storylines are concerned in the upper echelon, which probably has more to do with Paul Heyman than actually Paul Levesque. There's a lot of stuff that's still wrong.
I don't agree with you, Willie Bowen, on that one. He's definitely not Tyrus. But here's the thing too: there's still ability to do something. Like Bianca Belair still has some. I can make money with Bianca Belair.
Oh yeah,
I can make money with Trinity Fatu. What's her name there?
Naomi.
I can make money with Naomi. I can make a gold mine with Jade Cargo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's still potential on that. Charlotte coming back, I think it's still something that could be used. I don't know how long she's been gone. And same thing for Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss might be. I've taken craps bigger than that woman, but she's got something special too when it comes to personality. And I think one of the problems is they need to sprinkle some of those women wrestlers in with some of the guy wrestlers as not necessarily like girlfriends or valets, but like equals, like a part of something. Hollywood
Like
John Cena. What was that?
Like a crew, this is like they did it with oh God, what's his name? You guys know Chad Gable, his group where they had Tosawa and the female wrestler and
Maxine.
Yeah, but Maxine wasn't a good wrestler or personality. That's the problem.
No, but what I'm saying is they tried to portray her as just a regular competitor. She wasn't somebody's girlfriend in the group.
Well, I mean, look at Judgment Day, where Rhea Ripley was arguably at one point the leader of the group
and the biggest star.
And well, probably of all the characters in there that were part of it, she's still the biggest star of any of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if I was Charlotte Flair, I'd probably retire.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I just don't know if there's anything left.
You know what I'd do if I was Charlotte? I'd go to WoW. And I know. But think about it. If she went to WoW, instantly, she's the biggest name in women's wrestling. She goes to WoW, they have their biggest star, bigger than Tessa Blanchard. We're talking a Flair. And on top of that, the schedule so much lighter. She's like 6 weeks, like 4 or 5 weeks on, and the rest of the year off. She can do whatever hell she wants. Meaning, if she wants to do Hollywood, if she wants to become a professional wrestling school, like whatever she wants to do, she has the opportunity to do it. She wants to go work in Japan. She can work in Japan and work in Mexico, whatever she wants to do. The world is her oyster. And I think the salary that she could command would be, huge, because if WoW were able to land somebody like Charlotte, they get credibility based on her and her alone. Like, and when she goes over and she's wrestling the women of WoW, like she's going to be teaching those women to be better wrestlers just by being in the ring with them. And the product will improve just because of that. But also on top of that, she's the best wrestler in the world. She's the biggest star in the world when it comes to women's wrestling. Maybe not the biggest star anymore, but
here's the question, just when it comes to wrestling in general and women's wrestling in general, I should say. But one of the things we talk about, people getting lost in the shuffle in WWE, I think part of the reason is, for some reason in the women's thing, they have a big need to almost put the title on everybody at some point.
Yeah.
And there was one time I checked the roster, and it's probably not this bad now, but like 45% of the women were either the current or former world champions. And that was compared to like 30-some% of the men's roster. And I think one of the reason people get lost in the shuffle is because, look, I love Liv Morgan for the most part. I don't think this is her best character, but it's probably her most over character. But this is where it's like, okay, she could easily be a good Intercontinental champion. I just don't know that I like her that much as the world champion. And I will give the NWA this. When you look at the world champions since Billy's taken over, I don't have a problem with any of them. The world female champions. Okay. I have a problem with Tyrus as the men's champion. And I had a problem with the way they did Cardona. But just in general, Allison Kay, good choice. Thunder Rosa, good choice. Serena Deeb, not a bad choice under the circumstances. And Serena could wrestle.
Yeah.
Camille was awesome. She improved so quickly and got so good. Her as a champion for 2 years was not a bad thing. I liked her. I like Kenzie, even though they haven't booked her as well because of what was going on. No, they didn't do Cardona dirty. Cardona was never that over, and he got injured.
Future Ring of Honor World Champion.
Better choice than their current champion, whose name I won't say. But I feel like they've done a good job with the women's world title, the NWA. I just feel like when it came to the TV title, with the TV title, they started strong with Kenzie and then put it on Max and F that up.
The Tyrus of the women's division.
Right. Well, I mean, at first everything was going fine with Max until they decided to put the men's title on
her.
I really believe that the problem with the NWA and the champions really stem from just what we have said numerous times, is that the foresight isn't there. If you were going to put the title on Max, cool. I honestly, I could care less if they had treated that TV title like a true TV champion. And the thing about it is, a TV title is a title that's supposed to build your next crop of stars. At least that's my opinion. It's supposed to be an opportunity to showcase what's next. The TV champion isn't a title belt that should be held for 6 months. It shouldn't be held for a year. At best, it should be held for 2 months, and it's time to do something different. And that title should be seen widely and frequently. And putting it on Max and then putting Max into a tag team tournament where Max couldn't defend either TV title was ludicrous. It was stupid booking. It was dumb storytelling. Are you telling me that Kylie Page wouldn't have benefited from a run as the women's television champion, or that Markova wouldn't have benefited from a run as women's television champion? And then on the men's side, you had Mims with the belt. There was no reason to put the belt on Max the Impaler. But if you're going to do it, cool. Then put the belt on Max and have Max go through the roster of the entire undercard and get built up to a title match so that they could get the belt off of Max. They didn't do that either. They just let both title belts sit stagnant, threw Max into a tag team tournament, which, okay, I get it. They are the attraction. Max is the attraction. That's what you're trying to do. I'm all right with that. I don't have a problem with that. But
that's why they need a title.
Yeah, not at the expense of the belts. And the Andre the Giant did not need to be a world champion to be over. The Undertaker, although he held the world title a few times, did not need the title to be over. Bruiser Brody did not need the title to be over. Stan Hansen, although was the AWA world champion, did not need that belt to be over. You're bigger than life. You're larger than life personalities don't need a title to be over. And I feel like that was the biggest mistake was that they didn't need to have those. They didn't need to have Max in that position, and still they could have been over.
Look, I mean, let's look at the men's title and go back to when they put it on Jordan Clearwater.
Yeah.
And so it looked like they might start a program with him and Mims.
Yeah.
So imagine if over the next 6 months they had traded the title back and forth a couple times. Perfect. Okay. I mean, it's a Young Lions title. You put it on these two young guys. You do a program with them. They're trying to get to their 7 to face the world champion, but the other one cuts them off, before they can get there. And then finally one of them drops it to somebody else or, something else. I guess they finally put it on Latimer or somebody like that so that he could challenge EC3. But it's, the title did what's his name? Clearwater no good. The title did Mims no good. And then they put the national title on Mims in the flakiest way possible. And, now the national title is, I don't even know which is more prestigious, the TV or the national anymore.
I don't think they know anymore.
Now they're making it sound like they're making it sound like you can't just trade the national title anymore. You actually have to hold it for a while before you can trade it. You know,
why would you trade it to begin with?
Well, they shouldn't. I could see that as a gimmick for the TV title. Except for I probably would have made it 10, not 7 title defenses. But yeah, I mean, I can see that as a gimmick for the TV title. But then the idea is that's supposed to be rare. People don't make it. People lose after 4 or 5 title defenses. You get somebody who gets up to 8 or 9. You finally have somebody who makes it to 10. You know, and they lose on their 10th title defense before you finally get somebody else that can go, I don't do any of that crap. He has these titles. You know, people say he has too many titles. Well, yeah, probably. But more importantly, he doesn't know how to use any of them. Why isn't Thrillbilly still the national champion getting over with that belt? Someone explain to me that.
You want us to explain it to you?
Yeah. Explain to me why they didn't keep the national title on Thrillbilly and give him a good 6-10 month reign, taking out most of their top guys. And
I got a better question.
Because Latimer didn't need the belt to get to EC3. That was a storyline already.
So let's break this down then, right? Because you bring up a perfectly good point. Why did they have to take the belt off of Silas Mason, the Thrillbilly? And the answer is they didn't. But Billy has this sense of urgency. And I say Billy, maybe it's not Billy, but because he is the face of the NWA, he says he's the guy in charge. So I give him all the credit when they do well, and I give him all the blame when they do bad. Billy has this sense of urgency, like that title match needs to happen now. Everyone needs that title match right now. And everyone needs to move up the ladder right now. Nobody's comfortable in the position that they're in the company. And I don't know if that's trying to be like, hey, all of our guys are hungry, and if that's the story they're trying to explain. But no one's happy with what they have. No one's content with what they have. EC3 was a world's heavyweight champion, but he wasn't content being world champion. He needed to have a rival, and he went and wrestled Tom Latimer, and he said he didn't intentionally lose, but he said he needed Latimer to beat him so that he could have a rival. He wasn't even content being world's heavyweight champion. Silas Mason wasn't content being national champion. Right now you got Alex Taylor as your national champion. Kerry Morton, not national, junior heavyweight champion. Kerry Morton was talking about the world's heavyweight title when he just lost the world junior heavyweight title. Nobody in the NWA is content in their position. And that doesn't come off as we're hungry. It comes off as we're entitled. It comes off as we deserve to be world's heavyweight champion instead of I need to beat every little motherfucker on this roster to show you that I'm the best. And that's what pisses me off about this is Silas Mason, I'm the biggest man in pro wrestling. Yeah, you goddamn right you are. But who have you beat? Who have you beat to be the best? You beat 2 tag team wrestlers to win the national title. Let's not forget, at 75th anniversary show, who did he beat? Odinson and Kratos. So what have they done since? Tag team wrestling. So he didn't beat top contenders. He beat tag team wrestlers. They weren't a tag team then. And then who did he beat as champion? Who did he beat?
I can't make a cricket sound.
The thing about the NWA,
I honestly don't remember. Like I know he had a title defense here or there, but I couldn't tell you how many or who.
Well, that's why I love this website called Cage Match, because although it's not perfect, they do give us a lot of information. So, as the national heavyweight champion, Silas Mason defeated. He won the title by defeating Kratos and Odinson. He defended against Jordan Clearwater, beat him. Defended against Dak Draper, beat him. Defended against Chris Adonis, beat him. Chris Adonis might have been the best victory so far. Wrestled up against Devin Dixon, beat him. Wrestled up against Burchill, beat him. So, I mean, he did have a few big victories. Like, look, Burchill's a name that is still in the national division. Chris Adonis was the national champion for such a long time. Jordan Clearwater's a former TV champion. But none of this, like, it was never like, I'm content being the national champion. I'll make this title relevant. And even though Tom Latimer said that he was going to do that as national champion, the first opportunity he got to challenge EC3 for the 10 pounds of gold, he shot at it. He went for it, even if that meant sacrificing the title that he already had. And again, it's like I get the thirst to improve and to grow, but what about being content with the spot that you have, that you worked for? That Silas Mason didn't need to challenge for the 10 pounds of gold. He wasn't there. Nobody on the roster. I love Silas Mason. I will have him on this podcast anytime he wants to come on. And I would say this to him. They did not need to put you in a world title match. He should have been anchor of the national heavyweight division.
Especially just to lose and then kind of disappear out of any title scene. I mean, I'm sorry, Burchill does nothing for me. I don't even see that as, I mean, I think Clearwater is a bigger victory than Burchill.
Well, yeah, I mean, they haven't done well with Burchill either, but that's
well, they haven't done well with anybody, but I don't hold it against Burchill, but I mean, so like you said, Chris Adonis was the only one that was in there that was like, okay, yeah, you know, here's somebody who you know, has some name value from his time in WWE, who's, you know, been around, wrestled lots of places, and is a two-time former champion. So, sure. I mean, that's the type of thing. And I don't have anything against him defending the title against some of these other guys, but you need some top title defenses. You need some title defenses against them. I don't care if they bring in the occasional, you know, outsider that has some name value, you know, for him to put, you know, for him to go over. But, you know, do something with it. Do something so that by the time he's challenging for the world championship, I believe that there's a shot that he's going to win the title.
Exactly.
I mean, he doesn't have to win it, but I should at least go, hey, and, you know, we're talking about that with Richard Holiday that one time, with, you know, for the first streaming thing of Exodus Pro. Hey, I don't know that, you know, he's going to win, but man, there's a chance he might. And that's kind of exciting. And they could have done that. They could have done that with Thrillbilly, but they didn't. And, you know, now Thrillbilly beats up, you know, ring announcers or whatever the heck he is. And for stories that go nowhere and have no meaning and just leave you going, ah. So, I don't know. Hey, Jaden, this actually reminds me. 2 weeks ago when we did our last show, somebody asked the question. They wanted Jaden's view specific of what do you do with Mims as the national champion? So now you got a belt that's damaged. You have a wrestler that's not seen as necessarily being national champion material. And again, we love Mims, but, you know, they haven't booked him well. So since the question was asked a couple of weeks ago, I don't remember who asked it. Hopefully they're listening tonight. Jaden, what do you do with Mims?
Hey, first of all, I would have done better when I put the belt on him, and I wouldn't have had that stupid situation that would have happened. But if he was going to win and they were going to push him to the moon, I would immediately grassroots him. I would have him at every single event, whether it's Exodus Pro, whether it's Joe Kazana Promotions, whatever one they're doing with it's an NWA name, and sit there and have him wrestle on those grassroots, and immediately, soon as it happens, a day or two later, at worst case scenario, have it on a singles match isolated by itself on the YouTube, on X, and anywhere else that they could possibly promote it. The NWA Blue Sky, whatever they call it, Blues Clues, I don't know. Have it on the NWA Instagram, on the NWA Twitter, X, NW, whatever, everything has to have him on there. National championship. He is going to call himself the champion of the people, not the people's champion, but the champion is going to go out there, the workhorse, whatever you need to do, just get him out there to show that he's serious about becoming the greatest national champion possible. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit, but so have him out there and that, and then have him out there defending that championship at the TV tapings against top challengers. Have him against, if you need him, have him against tag team guys. A match against Rick and Moligursky would be a good match. A match against Kerry Morton would be a good match. Just get him out there and have him defend against really good wrestlers that have some kind of name value, that can elevate him and elevate that championship and say, look, this is my chance to become something. I got embarrassed by Max, by the TV champion. I've never gotten my opportunity, but I'm taking that opportunity now. I feel like this was, everything was against me. I wasn't at the right mindset, but right now, this is my mindset. I'm going to do everything I can to develop, to get better, to make this the most prestigious title in the NWA. And then one day, if I'm ever get a shot at the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, I will be ready. I will be my belt to take. Now I'm going to be happily fine being national champion until that day comes. But I'm not even going to give this belt up. I'm going to keep this belt. Even if I don't win the World Heavyweight title, this belt means the world to me, and I'm going to make it one of the most prestigious championships there is in the company and in professional wrestling today. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to make this so I am the absolute best Mims as possible. Steel's going to sharpen steel, and I'm going to turn into a machine, a cyborg, and I'm looking to dominate the future, Skynet or not. See?
Yeah.
Anybody disagree? Dislike?
No, I agree with you. I think I would have gone a different direction with Mims just because the way they put the belt on him.
Yeah, that was shitty right away. So
yeah, no, it was, but like the fact that Black Jesus is manager, I think I would have gone like the heel route, and he would have been like Tully Blanchard. He would have been hated. He'd cheat to win. He's a good wrestler. He could win the match without cheating, but he's going to get out there and cheat to win. And I don't think I'd give him a redemption arc. I don't think he would have a happy ending. I think Mims with Black G's, I think you got something. I think you could cook with that. Now, I like the way you went, Jaden. I think that's a perfectly good way to go with Mims. When Mims was introduced, I saw him match number 1 on the first day of Power, and he was enhancement talent in a match with Sal Renaro, or maybe I'm getting mixed up with who his first match was with, but he was brought in as enhancement. He was one of Tried and True's trainees. He came in, he worked hard, he got a spot, and then he was under the kind of like the tutelage of the Pope. I don't know. I don't want to say tutelage, but he was the Pope kind of took him under his wing. He started feuding with Tyrus when Tyrus was only the TV champion. And it felt like they wanted to make him that baby face, that top baby face, the young guy coming up. And then they pull the chain and he kind of went heel after winning the TV title. And I'm all right with that too. But like at this point, I feel like, well, if he's a heel, he's got a heel manager. You might as well just leave him heel and let him cheat to win and let him get some heat. Maybe even at some point bring up your favorite wrestler, Jaden, a 5-head PB Smooth, and that would be like maybe his heater too. It just I think what you said was perfectly fine. I think there's other routes to get there, but the thing is that you just put more thought into it, and I just put more thought into it than I think the NWA creative has put into it.
1,000,000,000%. And I don't see him as a Tully Blanchard because he doesn't have that dislikability. That's the problem. He has Tully was strong and Tully was small, but Tully just had a smirk, and nothing personal against G's. G's can only boo-boo face. He can't get himself over like on that heel. He just doesn't have that persona. Mims does not have that persona to get off. And you can still do this whole arc of him being an arrogant person and a heel and still do the same thing I was saying. He just does it in a more cocky kind of way. He doesn't have to be the babyface. He could be the heel.
Hey, I have a question for you two guys that kind of fits in with this.
By the way, Smooth and Monet have the same hairline. Go ahead.
Yeah, they do actually. Did either one of you watch Joe Casana's match between Thrillbilly and Jack Sting?
No.
No.
I'm still behind, so I got to catch up. I'm not going to watch it in order.
I highly recommend you go watch it because it's a very interesting match in that it's not very long. They do the thing of Thrillbilly, like getting in the ring and leaving the ring. It's not what you call a classic. It's, you don't sit there and leave and go, oh, wow, what a wonderful match these two, had. It's an all-time classic. It ranks right up there. But you know what it was? It was everything it needed to be. There was a clear heel. There was a clear face. It was for a title. The heel kind of stalled at the beginning, and then they got in, and then they, pounded each other a little bit. The heel cheats. They go their way, and when they finally get to the pinfall, the heel cheats to get the win. So it was everything that you would kind of expect out of an. I was telling Jaden, I think the reason I like Joe Casana Promotions because it doesn't try to be more than it is. It's a small Tennessee independent, and that's the show they put on. And that's what this match was. It was the title match in a small Tennessee thing. It was a good match between the two. It's like, why the F haven't I seen that in Power? Because it would have been a good match for Power. It would have been a good title defense for Thrillbilly, of his national championship instead of his Southeastern championship.
Well,
and they could have gone at it a little more on Power than they did in this one. I mean, the match was good. It was what it needed to be. It kept me interested. I was wondering how they were going to, do it. How was Thrillbilly going to win? Well, he used the international object and won. And it's just like, he hit Dane and then hit the thrill ride. And so seeing him get Dane up for the thrill ride was, impressive. Why don't I see more of that? I don't know. I highly recommend you guys go watch it and tell me if I've absolutely lost my mind or if you agree that it's, and again, not a classic, but just a good indie wrestling match for their top title.
Well, without watching it, I'm going to say it's a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. But you hit the nail on the head when you said, why didn't that match happen during Thrillbilly's reign as national champion? And there is an explanation for that, because in an effort to legitimize EC3 and his run as world champion, he ran through the top guys in the heavyweight division. He beat Jack Stain. He beat Wrecking Ball Gursky. He beat He beat everybody. He was the guy. So they didn't leave any scraps on the table. And again, there's a poor planning. They didn't do enough creative decisions to make things make sense. Like, I saw EC3 wrestle Jay Bradley and Wrecking Ball Gursky, but I don't know. Hear me out here. What if EC3 as world champion had a short feud with Dak Draper? Dak Draper was hot at the moment.
Was he?
A little.
I'm going to take your word for it because I don't remember it, but I also didn't watch it. So,
well,
I don't like Dak Draper. I think the guy's got star potential.
Wrecking Ball Gursky and Jay Bradley didn't win a single match last year.
Yeah, that's bad booking. That's the problem. Is there is so many talented guys in the NWA that can be built up as challengers for each division if need be. They don't need, honestly, they don't need a TV and a national title. I'll say that right now. But, let's say they still have all three. There is enough talent in there. Jack Stain could be built up to be something. Trevor Murdoch could still be built up to mean something. Thrillbilly, 1,000%. I still think there's, even though I think the Max thing hurt him a lot, I still think what's his name? Mims could still be useful for the NWA and be built up. I think there's a lot of potential in the NWA for that. And if you're going to, all right, let's say they make Joe. Let's say something happens where Billy Corgan gets a national Universal tour, has to go out to Uranus for Smashing Pumpkins, and he can't bring the NWA with him because the flight would be too expensive. So he's got to do a tour around, the different planets in the solar system. And Joe Kazana has the booker. Again, he's not perfect. There's some things he does that I don't like, but there's a lot better. So what you do is like, all right, Joe, you can promote absolutely everything. You're the booker except for over AJ and Casey. We'll get Pat Kenny to book anything that has to do with them. And then now, you're in charge. He can run that like a Southern promotion, which I think it would be unique in the NWA because it's unique in professional wrestling right now. And he could run that like a Southern promotion and maybe get some good help and maybe listen to some people, the right people hopefully. And I think it'll be a better product. But that's the problem is right now is Billy Corgan's not out touring Pluto, the former planet known as Pluto.
Oh, how we wish he was.
Let me say this real quick. Conrad Thompson asked Eric Bischoff who would be the guy that he would put in charge or put in AEW to help right the ship. And the person that Eric Bischoff suggested was Bubba Ray Dudley.
God, no.
Bubba Ray Dudley was in the NWA. He couldn't talk any sense into Billy Corgan. Tom Pritchard was at episode after episode after episode of Power, and the booking didn't improve. There's no one out there that's going to make Billy Corgan run the NWA any differently than it already is.
Yeah, that's why we have to send him on an interplanetary tour.
Well, like he has to be lost in space.
Where's Dr. Smith? Can we put him in a TARDIS?
I'm willing for that. I'm willing for him to be lost in space.
Battlestar, maybe Galactica. Can we put him on a skeleton crew? Something.
No, not skeleton crew. I'm liking it so far.
He would blend in with those aliens. He really would.
There's some truth there. I just don't know with him. And, this is what I was talking about earlier. I mean, and what we even talked about, a couple of weeks ago. It's like, does Billy think this is good? I mean, it's just, did he think Billy and 7-6 beating up Kyle was good? Was there some, did he have a plan behind it? Because there doesn't seem to have been a plan. It was just like, oh, here, let's go do this. Joe Galley swinging a pipe. And it's just like, what am I missing as part of the thing? I mean, where did some of these ideas come? The Pat Kennedy, is that his name?
Pat Kenny, Simon Diamond, Lance Diamond.
Was he a booker? Can he book? I don't even know.
I don't know if he can book. Honestly, he was a good wrestler. Do you remember the Steve Carinos and the Reckless Youth and the Devon Storms and the New Jersey guys that came along that all kind of made a little bit of a name for themselves in professional wrestling for being more talented than probably where they were at, especially at the time when wrestling was very stagnant and very boring, and they brought a bit of energy. He was one of those guys that came along, and he was the more grounded wrestler version of them at the time. So I think, if that's what he is that's why he's known. And then he became part of ECW, and I think he also TNA. But the problem is I think he was corrupted by a lot of that stuff too. ECW stuff, a lot of the ECW stuff worked well for ECW, wouldn't have worked in other places, would not work today, I don't think. People talk about the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era would not work today.
No.
Everybody wants it back, and it would not work today. Too many crybaby bitches. Oh,
can you imagine pile driving women in thongs today?
Yes, it's a lot of people pay big money for that. But still, it wouldn't work for professional wrestling, especially the way wrestling is today. You know, but I think honestly that he may not be good, but he might be slightly better. I'm just worried again he's corrupted. TNA being around, the people are a product of what they watch, and a lot of times wrestlers were products of what their environment was. There's a reason that Bulldog Bob Brown wasn't a good booker for Central States, and I'll argue that Buck Robley wasn't a good booker either, but Bill Dundee was, and that's because they were in areas where they were able to learn and people they were able to learn from. Billy Corgan books, all right, a lot of the wrestlers would go in car rides. Even my day of wrestling, we would be on like 6 or 7 of us would be in a car. And we would joke around while we were driving these long-ass rides, pushed into a car way too small, getting squished with all our gear and all our smelly bodies and everything else and all the food we could stuff in our mouths from convenience stores and all this stupid stuff that we would do. We would entertain ourselves by making up funny, stupid shit about what we were going to do wrestling-wise. While we were going. Luckily, though, we never did most of it. Some of it we did, but we didn't do most of it because we knew it was stupid and it was going to be more detrimental to the business. The problem is Billy Corgan, with all his personality, sit there and make up stupid, goofy stuff, and doesn't believe that he shouldn't be doing it. So he's his one-person little crew where he just comes up with a bunch of stupid things and doesn't understand that that's not what you should be doing in professional wrestling. And like I said, just 2 weeks ago, he's a product of his environment of wrestling, and that's paid a price for the NWA right now. And here's one thing that always drives me nuts. People go, well, Billy Corgan is entitled to do what he wants. He owns the NWA. Why don't people believe the same thing with Star Wars and Marvel? Disney's entitled to do whatever they want. They own Disney. No. After a while, as hard as it is for people to want to believe, when it's something out there that we have an emotional investment in, that we've created over the years, and we get all the garbage stuff instead of what was, there's too many people out there cosplaying and writing their own stories and their own fan fiction and their own erotica of all these different characters. But there is good comics out there and good stories out there that need to be told that are not. And the problem is they're ignoring what brought them to the table, brought Star Wars to the table, brought Marvel to the table, brought the NWA, why the NWA is still important, those initials still mean something. And instead they just do their own bastardized version because they're too stupid to realize that they don't own it. They're just renting it. They're paying for it. But it's us that have emotional investment. They're our family. They're our friends. They're our superheroes. There are professional wrestlers or are professional wrestling companies, and they're just throwing it away. And everybody who's ever put any dime into buying anything with that product, there is my rant.
That's a good rant. Look, it's as simple as this. Billy books the NWA the same way he makes music, and that was fortunate for him when it came to music. Billy is an odd character, but Billy went against the grain. Like, he'll tell you this. He's very proud of the fact that he went against the grain. He went against popular music. He went against the culture and did his own thing. Wildly successful, and people loved it. And Smashing Pumpkins has a huge fan base. You can't argue.
No, I just don't like. I like his newer stuff better than I like his older stuff. But go ahead.
My favorite song is Rhinoceros, right, from Smashing Pumpkins. I think that was on the second or third album. I recently heard a studio cut of that, and it was the Drizzling Shits. Excuse me, not studio, a live version of it, and it was the Drizzling Shits. The studio version, great song. Wonderful song. To me, that's height. Smashing Pumpkins, the best song that they do is Rhinoceros. Not every song on the Smashing Pumpkins I'm going to like, and that's okay. Not every, Billy Corgan isn't asking you to like everything that he does, but he's committed to doing what he wants to do because he had such great success in music, and he just figures, well, I'm a genius. I'm creative enough, and if I do apply the same principles to music as I did to pro wrestling and do it the way I want it, people are going to like it. And DK has pointed this out lots of times in the podcasts. Billy is booking in a way where he wants you to like his show. He wants you to like it. The fact of the matter is, it's just not for me. It's not my style of, not what I find entertaining. I don't see where he's getting people over. I don't see where it makes sense. But there are people in the music industry that didn't think Smashing Pumpkins made sense, and it was still successful. So I feel like that's where Billy's mindset is. So he's not handing the book over. He's not gonna let he's not going to let Pat Kenny book. He's not going to let Joe Kazana book. He's not going to hire a booking committee. He might take suggestions, and he might have Aaron Stevens whisper in his ear. He might have any whisper in his ear. But at the end of the day, he's going to book the show the way he thinks it should be booked. And you're right, Jake, I don't give him carte blanche to do whatever he wants with the NWA. But the fact of the matter is, like, I don't get to control what he does. Now, we can all voice our displeasure on social media. We can all stop watching. But, this is kind of the community we built here is an NWA community. Unless we're all going to switch to NASCAR or something, I don't know what we're going to do with this 2 hours every Thursday night. So with that being said.
There's a difference, though. There's a big, huge difference. Billy Corgan had talent in music. He doesn't have talent in booking. And he has so little talent in booking, he doesn't realize how bad his booking is.
But you cannot convince him that he doesn't have talent.
Oh, I'm going to try. Put him in front of me. I'll convince him like bass players, too, if I have the opportunity. Probably won't
but everything you're saying, I'm not disagreeing with. I hope you and I are on the same page here.
Put him in front of me. I'll teach him.
He's a megalomaniac. You're not going to convince him that he isn't the best thing ever.
Yes, I can. I can bring anybody down if I need to. I can make him grow his hair back.
Well, that would be scary. Now, here's my take on it, and I understand kind of what both of you are saying. My problem with you can't compare the wrestling world to the music world. That's
no, but he does.
I'm not saying he doesn't, but here's the truth that he would never admit to, but it's the truth. At some point, his music was the mainstream music. There were enough people out there that liked it. There were enough bands out there that were performing similar stuff. And whatever you want to call it. I know he sometimes gets put in the grunge. I wouldn't necessarily call it. I wouldn't call it grunge. But, alternative, whatever you want to call it. At some point, that type of music was popular. But it's not popular necessarily today. You can't, if you put out some of those songs today, they probably wouldn't do much. Because too many people are looking at Sabrina Carpenter's ass. And, she's old enough. But she is, that's the thing. And it's not my fault she wears short pink tight shorts. But anyway.
And if she wasn't, he could always Rob Feinsteiner.
Yeah.
I'll be here all week. I'll pretend she said.
But my point is, it's music's ever adjusting everything. And at one point, what he did was popular. And it was while he was doing it. I mean, how many grunge bands are out there today?
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough. And why aren't there? Well, there's probably a ton. But they don't get airplay because that's not the music of today.
And let's even add to that Billy Corgan's music today is not the same music that he did in the 90s. No, I like his music better today. And by the way, Sabrina Carpenter is 25, so DK has a pass.
No, yeah. I didn't say he didn't. I said she's just barely
25,
barely.
Look, my daughter's 20 years old, so that point, I can't look at girls the same way as I used to. Right? I can't look at a 25-year-old and be like, damn, because my daughter in 5 years is going to be 25, so I can't do that. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying for me, I can't do that.
Yeah, I understand that too.
DK has sons, so that's why he lucks out.
But, so anyway, that's one thing, is that music, what he did was mainstream at one point.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason it was popular. That's part of the reason he's successful. Look, there are people out there that, I can, off the top of my head, just through various people I've known through whatever. I've known people that make a living as musicians. I know lots of people who make livings as musicians. And you know what? They're never going to be stars. And they know they're never going to be stars.
All right. So let me just say let me add just a caveat to that. Yes, the music that Billy Corgan made was popular at one point. But when do you think Smashing Pumpkins started?
1911. They're 74.
74. So the Pumpkins didn't really achieve radio success until what, 92, 93, 94? Yeah.
I have no idea. I stopped listening.
I'd say 92 because that's when I was in high school.
Okay. But they started in 88. So it wasn't like they hit the ground and they were like automatically superstars, right? He put in time. He put in work.
And I'm not saying that was the case.
Right, but what I guess what I'm trying to say is in 1988, hair metal was the rave. You know, hair metal was the big thing at the time. And what Billy was doing at the time wasn't considered popular music. It became popular music because similar bands with similar sounds all kind of converged at the same time in that grunge music era. That's what I'm saying is like, he knows that if he just, and I'm not saying he's correct. I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm trying to get into the megalomaniac's mind. And I'm saying that he knows that if he just keeps putting it out there, that at some point it's going to take off because that's what's worked for him in the past. And I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying that's going to work. I'm saying that's his mindset.
And I agree with you that that's his mindset. And I think that's where he's wrong.
Yeah, and that's why this whole conversation is Billy is wrong. Billy's booking is bad. The NWA struggles because of Billy Corgan. It's not the talent. They've got great talent. It's not the production. Production's pretty good. It's the storytelling in between. I can watch these matches and be like, you know what, that's a pretty good match. We'll get to we're gonna get to it right now. The women's three-way match I thought was really good. The tag team match was really good. But why did we get Fixers as the mystery tag team partner for a 3-man tag match? What fucking sense does that make for anybody? Right? I mean, come on, help me out here.
And then they still lost. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that was, well, if we're going to go down that road. But before we do, just to wrap up my thoughts on what I was saying, is my point was Billy didn't become a huge music success because he was going against the grain and not doing what everybody else was doing. He became a success when people who were doing what he did, that music came into fashion. And he's never been that same success since that music's gone out of fashion. And he's changed what he does now.
Yeah.
And he's still not a huge, a modern day huge success. But that, and not take anything away from the man. The man's richer than I'll ever be.
Yeah.
So
he's a hell of a guitar player.
Yeah.
Hell of a guitar player.
I'm not going to take anything away from the success he had. But if your mentality is, oh, well, I went against the grain and look what happened with me, you have to understand the reasons why. The wrestling world's not the music world. And the wrestling world's got dominance that, some dominating things that happen. Although I don't know what the hell's going on with AEW. Their viewership is now under 600,000 2 weeks in a row.
They are suffering from the same megalomania
delusion
as Billy Corgan. It's this is my company. I'm going to make the company the way I like it. And that's fine. You're a billionaire. And if you want to lose all your audience, that's fine. You have so much wonderful talent under your belt. You have opportunity. You have TV. You have everything you need to be successful except for cohesive storytelling. And they do some things right. Like AEW isn't all wrong. The NWA isn't all wrong. But, if they just did some minor tweaks and had somebody come in and who was like, hey, I am a creative writer. And look, Dave Lagana gets a lot of heat. But Dave Lagana worked in Hollywood as a Hollywood television writer. And in those rooms, and I know this because I have friends who work in Hollywood, the writing rooms are basically ideas just getting thrown out there, and collectively they piece these stories together to make an episode. And that's, I think, where you're getting a lot of this creativity. And when Dave Lagana was working with Billy Corgan, they had a lot of people just throwing creative thoughts there. Dave Marquez was around, and I know Bill Behrens had a voice in those meetings, and Aaron Stevens was still vocal in those meetings. And you know, you had Lagana had his own agenda, his own stories, and Billy throwing his stories out, and they collectively worked those stories through, and we got a really good first season of Power.
And sometimes the talent will do it.
Yeah. Look, Nick Aldis has to get some credit too for that successful first season of Power.
Know, the TV shows, especially ones that were filmed in front of a live audience,
live studio audience. Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that they filmed the show twice, and they spliced together the best of the two things. But like Rob Reiner, who played Meathead in All in the Family, if any of you are that old, if not, go look it up, was saying one time how they had done one show and like the first half did not go over with the audience. The audience didn't like it in their first taping. And literally in between the first and the second taping, the four main characters sat around with one of the showrunners and completely basically redid the first half of the show. And, you know, tried that in the second taping, which, you know, got over better. And he also talks about there's an episode where he and his father-in-law, who was Archie Bunker, that might be a name some people recognize, are putting on their socks and shoes for something. And Rob Reiner's character put on a sock and a shoe and a sock and a shoe, whereas Archie put on sock, shoe, shoe. And they did like this 2 or 3 minute thing about it, you know, the right and wrong way to put on socks and shoes. 100% ad lib. It's not in the script. You know, and sometimes you have to trust, if you have talent that's been around long enough and done things, you have to trust them to do stuff and get it and find, you know, see how the audience reacts. And I don't know that the NWA talent has that ability or not. I tend to think probably not a lot. I mean, I'm sure EC3 does.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Aldis did.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the others, but I don't know. It's got to be. What happened on Power this week, Jay? Since we're starting
real quick before, because I've been waiting for you guys to shut up so I can get my words in. Two quick statements, and then we can get into Power. Number one, neither Billy Corgan is nowhere as good as Captain's Kitchen and Shrimp Shack Shooters. And I actually forgot the second point at this point because I've been waiting for you guys to go for so long. I forgot the second point. But yeah, all right. Now let's go into the NWA Power.
All right. So NWA Power this week, we'll kind of keep it brief because we are running low on time already. And thanks everyone for hanging out with us on this Thursday. Of course, we'd like to talk all things NWA, and sometimes we get a little long-winded. And we got to kind of get this out of our system because next week Danny Deals is going to be on, and although we won't hide our criticisms, I don't think we're going to lay in as thick as we are right now. But for everything we just said, like, this is an episode of Power that I actually kind of enjoyed. You know, this was there was 3 matches, which is kind of a down from the last 2 weeks where there seemed like 4 or 5 matches per episode of Power. This is the Saul Win episodes now. The taping schedule went like we were talking earlier. It was the 76th anniversary show. Then they went to Tampa to do the TV tapings, and then they did the stuff with Riot Fest in Chicago, and then they did the stuff in New York, and then they went back to Tampa for Saul Win. So these matches, these weeks of television, at least all in the same venue, you know. And I don't know if that makes it better or not. It just, to me, it kind of gets difficult to when it's the same show, it doesn't feel like this is anything special or unique or different. We had a lot more backstage promos and stuff, but let's look at the meat and potatoes of it. Let's look at the wrestling. The first matchup that we got was the Fixers. Excuse me, I messed that up. The Country Gentlemen with all three Kazanas, Joe Kazana and AJ and Kurt taking on the Slime Balls and a mystery partner. Now, we kind of were racking our brains back in September about, well, who's going to be this mystery partner? Who's going to team with the Slime Balls? Because storyline wise, what makes sense? Now, I didn't have Jay Bradley on my card, nor did I have Wrecking Ball of Gursky, and I sure as hell didn't have both of them being on my card. And even with both the Fixers interfering in this match and being in this match, and it was a street fight, so there were like a lot of rules were being relaxed. The Fixers didn't really become difference makers in this match, and the Country Gentlemen still got the victory. AJ still is AJ. Kirk is still Kirk, and Joe. Well, I like Joe, but I don't necessarily need to see him in the ring anymore. It was comically bad. I don't want to beat up the guy because he's a retired wrestler. He doesn't wrestle every day anymore, and he kind of came out of retirement for this match, and this wasn't it. This wasn't the match I would have hoped for Joe Kazana. And if that was his swan song, I kind of wish he didn't come back for that. But the match itself didn't really lend itself to being entertaining. We got a lot of the shtick of by the book, and the commentators, Billy, Joe, and Danny Deals all got their shtick in. But it wasn't a very good match. It didn't keep my interest. Seeing Jay Bradley out there was kind of cool because I like Jay Bradley, and I think Jay Bradley should just be a singles wrestler at this part because I don't really buy into the Fixers anymore. It was a good equalizer, and it kind of made the match feel good until we got Wrecking Ball Gursky coming out. Ultimately, this match wasn't it. I don't know. Again, we talk about who did this benefit. Seeing Joe Kazana in the ring, I like the man a lot, and I want to see his company succeed. I want to see his son succeed. I don't need to see him in the ring anymore. This wasn't it. They got the victory, but did they become a better tag team because of this? Did they get more over because of this? Did the Slime Balls get more? Are they more beloved now because of this? Did the Fixers get over because of this? And I don't see the answer of any of those being yes. This feels like a false negative. It just feels like a match that they put out there that didn't do really anything. It wasn't even a title defense. The U.S. tag titles weren't even on the line. So it's like, what did this accomplish? And to me, nothing. DK?
All right, get myself off mute. First, a brief interruption to Scott Boom. The NWA means nothing to X. And yes, there are lots of other long-form videos, including sports. Now, that being said, getting to this match, it was bad. It was terrible. It made no sense. I can't tell. The Slime Balls are heel face every other week, depending on who they're in the ring with. So you don't get a chance to hate them or love them. Kind of the same thing with the Fixers now. And they almost seem to revert a little bit to some of their goofiness. And so I didn't like that. So we had the team that were the nominal faces have a 4-on-3 advantage and still lose when an old man hits somebody with a belt, and it's not even illegal, with the buckle of the belt, and it's not even illegal because it's a street fight, and he gets a pin.
Yeah.
So this was just, way to kill the Slime Balls. Way not to help country gents get over. Love Joke Santa Promotions. This match, no.
Yeah. by the book no DQ match where Kazana was outside the ring waiting to get a tag. Willie Bowen says slime balls suck. Again, like I feel like if this would have just been the slime balls versus the Country Gentlemen in a U.S. Tag Team Title match, I think they would have done a better job of any of it. Getting, the only thing that I could think this set up is potentially the Fixers and the Country Gentlemen feuding for the U.S. tag titles. But even during the commentary, Billy's like, we're trying to get back to the territory roots. The U.S. tag titles are going to be a traveling titles. Why? Every promotion has their own set of tag titles. Almost every promotion. You got Joe Kazana has his tag titles. Exodus Pro just crowned their tag titles. I don't know what titles DOGG Pound has, but I know TSW has their own tag team titles. I don't understand why you created these tag titles for and maybe this is Billy learning, right? Maybe Billy's learning on the job and saying, hey, we got too many belts here. Maybe we need to kick those to the indies and territories and do something different. But yeah, this wasn't it. This if this was my first foray into the NWA, it would have been that's a no for me, dog.
Well, I mean, if they're going to be territory titles, then plunk at them.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. And again, they didn't really showcase the titles. This wasn't a title match, but maybe it should have been. Maybe that would have been maybe that would have been more compelling. Maybe this should have been a triple threat tag team match. I don't know. Just anything would have been better than what we got. And again, nothing but love and respect to the Kazana family, but Joe, like that wasn't it. I can't imagine that he got to the back and Billy was like, hell yeah, guys. Good job. Killed it. Good job, brothers. I don't see it.
I bet he did.
God, I hope not. Next up, we had this was a really exciting match. The women's triple threat match. Now, I was convinced because DK told me that he said that he thought that the women's world title changed hands while at Saw Win. And maybe it did. We don't know exclusively if it did or did not.
I don't think it did, but that was a rumor that was going around.
But now we have a triple threat match featuring three. This is a very mixed group here, right? Because you have Hollywood Haley J. They kind of treat her and speak of her as the outsider, although she's appeared on the last 4 events. So kind of hard to call her an outsider at this point. Markova, who for whatever reason they just don't want to pull the trigger with her. They keep screwing up with that one. And then you get little Kylie Alexa, who, God damn, she's such a good talent and she's so young. I think she's only going to get better. This matchup was fire. I thought this was a great match. I thought all three of them looked really, really good. You had Haley Hood J doing the heel things that she does. She hung outside the ring and let Kylie and Markova go at it. She picked her spots. And, we saw at the 76th anniversary show, all three of these women were in the Burke, including Tiffany Nieves. And Tiffany Nieves and Hollywood Haley J kind of were going at it. And then they ended up teaming later on an episode of Power. Then you had Tiffany Nieves and Markova kind of going at it during the Burke Invitational. And then Tiffany Nieves cost Markova the shot at the world title. And then we had no Tiffany Nieves in this match, and Hollywood Haley J won through some scrupulous means, but at the end of the day, she got the 1, 2, 3. And it's such a surprising thing to me because everything felt like they were pushing for Markova versus the women's world champion at Looks at Kill. We ain't getting that.
How do you know?
Well,
because the NWA booking, this is Billy Corgan. Now Markova wrestles for the NWA women's title at the Looks Can Kill, wins the match, and then Hollywood LHA gets a random crappy shot on a Power episode and doesn't mean anything.
Well, I know that because the NWA has announced that in the steel cage at Looks at Kill, we're going to have Tiffany Nieves and Natalia Markova, which is kind of a continuation from the feud that was ignited at the Burke Invitational that kind of continued during those the Tampa TV tapings. And we know that also at Looks at Kill, Hollywood Haley J. Kenzie Page is scheduled for a title defense So, I mean, unless they have a swerve in their back pocket somewhere, those are the matchups we're going to get at Looks at Kill. So, they at the very surface of that, yeah, that's how it's booked. But I feel like it was at the very least, if you didn't like the match, I think the outcome was still very unpredictable and not in a bad way. And so I'm excited to see both those matchups. To me, are fresh. I don't think we haven't had a Kenzie Page versus Holly Haley J matchup. And then, of course, the brutality of Markova and Tiffany Nieves in a steel cage, I think, is going to be really, really good. And unfortunately, Kylie was injured during WrestleCade, so I don't know if we're even going to see her in the ring. I mean, we're still about a week and a half away from this pay-per-view, but I don't know that she's going to be medically cleared to wrestle. She might be there. She might be in attendance. She might even help her sister out in some form or fashion, but as of right now, she's not. I don't expect her to be competing at that show. So again, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was really, really good. But I'm curious as to what DKM thought about this one.
Well, I thought it was okay. I didn't love it like you loved it.
Yeah.
But I thought it was and of course, you know how I feel about three-ways, but at least this one was elimination. So that gives it a little bit of a step up. But I don't have any complaints in the match. It just didn't awe me, so to speak. I was a little disappointed in the outcome because I just feel, once again, like, what are you trying to do with Markova? You put her in the number one contender spot. You give her a 1-minute match for the title and declare, well, that's just life. And then I'm going to assume that there's probably an interaction between her and Tiffany on the match that Tiffany's in for this, for Saw Win. Or at least there needs to be, to explain the cage.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was okay, but I didn't love it.
I don't have a problem with. I'm not a fan personally of Hollywood Haley J, but I see the money in her. I see the impact, the appeal. I see how you can make some money with her, and I could do the same thing. Just because I don't like somebody, I'm not a fan, doesn't mean I can't see the marketability and the profitability they have. So I think that match itself is something that they can push at the, to grab an attraction for that first time matchup for the NWA World Women's Championship. I think they're about a year and a half past due when they should have been doing it. But hey, that's Billy.
So our resident Natalia Markova superfan noob is in the chat, and he says, whenever everyone sees a Natalia Markova match, you're in a match. We're getting a steel cage match. Did I mention this feud between Natalia and Tiffany started a year ago? My thoughts is a great match. Like I said, when you want to see Natalia Markova match, you're in for a surprise. I mean, I think my biggest surprise is that she didn't get the victory. And I mean, they telegraphed it that way. And I thought that's for sure what we were going to get. I mean, the pay-per-view is named after her, for crying out loud. And, I mean, things could change. Card is always subject to change. Maybe she cashes in. Maybe she gets a title shot after the cage match. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. But, wow, I enjoyed the match. I was okay with the end result. I was just surprised by it, which I think is a good thing. Wrestling shouldn't be predictable. And then that leads us to the main event. We had Talos and Daisy Kill versus the Immortals. Now, the other thing we should note about this is we haven't seen Vampiro since the 76. So evidently he's no longer managing the former U.S. Tag Champions. I'm not sure. This was also a unique match in that we've seen it before. In fact, the Immortals beat Talos and Daisy Kill to win the tag titles. So this match, I actually think we've seen like twice. But this was a much different match in that Daisy Kill was a lot more aggressive. He has been since the Crockett Cup, been a lot more aggressive in the ring. Talos looks really, really good. And they didn't just lay down for the Immortals. And typically Immortals will come in and beat the crap out of these guys, and that didn't happen. And that's why I think I liked it so much. And the aggressive Daisy Kill, the aggressive Talos, was a lot more competitive than I thought it would be. In fact, they won the match. Why did I say it like that? They won the match. I thought it was a good match. I think it was a good surprise ending to me because I thought for sure we were going to see the Immortals versus Murdochs. We're getting Talos and Daisy Kill versus Murdochs. Talos and Daisy Kill get a shot at the World Tag Titles. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. DK, what were your thoughts?
You know, I enjoyed this match a lot more than I expected I would.
Yeah, same.
You know, I've mentioned recently that Daisy Kill's been growing on me.
Like a fungus.
And yeah, as soon as I find the antifungal, we'll take care of that. But anyway, seriously, I think Daisy Kill's been showing a better side. Hopefully, since the Immortals have the ukulele, that they'll keep it and he'll never get it back. And, you know, they can drop that aspect of the gimmick. He looks far better with a full beard. His hair was a little bit shorter. I don't know if that was good, but but his aggressiveness, his thing, you know, it gets the kill over in Daisy Kill.
Yeah.
And this is the best I've liked Talos. I've not been a huge fan of Talos. And I thought this is the best that he's looked. And so I thought he did a good job. I was very surprised the Immortals didn't win. But what made it good was not only was I very surprised the Immortals didn't win, I kind of liked the fact that Daisy Kill and Talos did.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you can put on a match where a team that I've never liked wins, and I'm happy that they won, you've put on a good match. Now, the Immortals did all the right things and did well and everything. They were fine. So I have no complaints against the Immortals. It was just, things just are what they are. And I was glad for the Talos and Daisy Kill win. And they need to keep going the direction that they're currently going, either as a team or as single wrestlers, but definitely seen a lot of improvement in Talos. Definitely see a lot of charisma and toughness and, you know, killer in Daisy Kills now. So, hey, you know, changed my mind on Thrillbilly. I'm changing my mind on those two. So that's what I've said. I don't pick a decision and stay with it and never change. So if people think I do that with Kerry Morton, no, I just dislike Kerry Morton still.
But you're saying there's a chance.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I like the idea of him and Max for the TV title. And apparently that wasn't something the NWA was doing. That was something he was doing. But yeah, I mean, I like that idea. I like that concept.
It sounds like Carson Drake is going to get the. Well, he's definitely getting the shot at.
I've thought to myself, I go, they've kind of put Carson Drake in the role that I would have used Kerry Morton for.
Yeah,
which makes me sad because I don't like Carson Drake.
And we know for Saul Wynn, you know, Kerry's going to be busy wrestling Colby again, which I like the chemistry that they had from the 75th anniversary show. It wasn't a bad match then. I don't think it'll be a bad match now. Both of them are considering themselves heavyweights and looking to move up the heavyweight division roster. Colby had a hell of a match with Silas Mason at the anniversary show, so maybe we'll see some more of that fire at Looks at Kill. And then speaking of Silas, he'll be taking on Brian Idol. Now, Brian Idol and Colby will be at Saul Wynn will be taking on Kerry and Thrillbilly. But now we know in about a week and a half, Thrillbilly will be taking on Brian Idol. And again, this could have implications for title matches down the road. We don't really know. And again, can't really trust Billy booking, but they have announced 5 matches leading up to Looks at Kill. We have, again, the women's title match, the women's cage match, the world tag team title match, and then these 2 heavyweight matches. It's funny how they put Colby versus Kerry as a singles match, but they had to say heavyweight match between Thrillbilly, Silas Mason, and Brian Idol. I just think that's a little bit funny.
I think the winner of the Thrillbilly Idol match should be doing the live television appearances at the lower events. The winner gets that.
And that's going back to that's a conversation we were having offline. But you got to give Brian Idol credit, whether you like him as a wrestler or don't, because I don't like him as a wrestler. But that guy's making towns for the NWA, and the whole thing that happened with Chicago, or not Chicago, but New York, and then the last time they were in Dothan, Alabama, and here it is, like he's on TV with Markova, and he's being friendly with the newscasters, putting guys in headlocks, chopping dudes. Now, I would say that Thrillbilly Silas Mason is a hell of a salesman. And when he's cutting a promo telling you to come and put your hand toward the TV screen and believe in the Thrillbilly and go watch some JCP, he did a hell of a promo to get me fired up about what they were doing down in Tennessee. Brian Idol is doing the same thing. I mean, he's making those towns, and he's making the NWA relative. He's making the NWA
relevant, maybe.
What's that?
Relevant?
Yeah. He's making it. He's bringing the NWA to the people, right? Like Dothan, Alabama isn't a huge wrestling town. You don't hear about the WWE with all those big shows in Alabama. Like, when was the last time a WrestleMania was in Alabama? When was the last time they did a Clash of the Champions in Alabama? I'm sure it happened, but we're talking about 25 years ago. When was the last time there was a significant wrestling promotion doing things in Alabama?
Continental.
Go ahead.
Continental.
Okay. 40 years ago?
Yes.
I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm not trying to put down the people of Dothan, Alabama. I'm saying that the NWA is smart, very, very smart, and focusing on an audience that's underserved, a real wrestling community. And when you've got guys like Silas Mason and Brian Idol, who, Silas Mason hasn't done any legwork yet for this event, but I'm sure he will. But Brian Idol and his hot Russian girl, Natalia Markova, out there trying to sell tickets. I mean, that to me is a good recipe for success. And I feel like, Dothan surprised us all by having a hell of a crowd for the first event that was there. I think that was Hard Times 3. And Looks at Kill looks like it's going to be, probably do similar numbers. Luthez, of course, is quick to pull out the first big NWA TNA pay-per-view was in Huntsville. Fine, Luthez, but when was the last time TNA went to Dothan,
Alabama?
Dothan.
Isn't Forrest Gump from Alabama?
Sure. And then Roswell asked, was the last time Thrillbilly defended this JCP title? I think it was at the JCP TV taping. And Noob says this is going to be a good match, but expect a squash match because it's Brian Idol. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't need Brian Idol to go out there and win matches. Brian Idol, I think, if I'm booking the NWA, Brian Idol's a guy that I'm using to elevate other talent. Brian Idol could go beat up the students from the Funkin' Conservatory. He could beat up the students from the Pritchard's Jacobs Wrestling Academy. He could beat up Ricky Morton's students all day long. I'm fine with that. But if you're going to put him in the ring with Thrillbilly, it should be a squash. That match shouldn't go 5 minutes. And I would be totally okay with that. So what's this? I hear that some northern New Jersey DOGG events that could potentially be happening. What's going on, Jaden?
Well, now Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators has 2 events booked and many more that are potentially coming. I can't talk about the ones that are happening in the future until they actually happen, but there's 2 events coming up, and they're both at major universities in the New Jersey area. We'll start with Saturday nights, February 15th at the Monmouth University You're going to see that's a major university, and it's one of the oldest universities in the country. And the Monmouth County area was a site of a major Revolutionary War battle. But you're going to see Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators make its debut at the Monmouth University. You're going to see great wrestling action already signed. You're going to see former WWE superstar Tank Tolan. You're going to see the Fallah Bah of TNA Impact Wrestling. And one really interesting match that I have, or one interesting wrestler, is an alumni from Monmouth University. Biggie Biggs is going to be on that card too, making his dog return. He was originally scheduled to make his dog return, but injuries and stuff happened. But he will be making his dog return at Monmouth University. So it's in West Orange, New Jersey, I believe. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. The World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship will be on the line, and the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship will be on the line. You got to see Goldie, the current WWGP champion, and Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh, the current Dog Tag Team champions. Plus, you're going to see a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship match as Breaker Morant, the current Dog champion, looking to bring that title into retirement with him, wants to be champion when he retires. He's got a really, really tough challenger ahead of him as he takes on the promising wrestler from the Monster Factory and one extremely talented guy in Nick Bhatti. So it's Breaker Moran versus Nick Bhatti. This is a rematch from Rowan University. And Nick Bhatti has been impressing thus many in Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. He's coming off a big win. They just had it to Sacred Heart, and he's going to be getting a shot at the Dog Championship against Breaker Morant. Plus, like I said, already signed is not Reckenball Ligursky, is Fallah Bah and former WWE and Ring of Honor superstar Tank Tolan. And there's somebody being negotiated right now, a big star that hopefully comes through. But there's some stuff going on, and I'm looking forward to what's going on in Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. And that's just one of the matches. And then on Thursday night, April 17th, Dog returns to Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. It's not the rustic part. But we're going to see already signed for that big event. You're going to have the World Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Champion David Goldie. You're going to have the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Champion Valerie Verman. You're going to have both Breaker Morant and Nick Bhatti there. One of them will be defending the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship. You're going to see the current champions. I don't know if they will be by then, but Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh for the Dog Tag Team Championship. They're there. Plus, you're going to see NWA star Reckenball Ligursky. You're going to see former NXT women's wrestler. She wrestled under the name Sloan Jacobs, but her name is Notorious Mimi. She'll be in action. And she'll actually be going after the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Championship against Valerie Verman. We announced that, I think, 2 weeks ago. You're going to see former WWE, current MLW superstar Donovan Dijak. He'll be in wrestling action. I can't wait. That's going to be really, really good. And MLW superstar Alex Kane will also be there. Plus, Dog signed a Conquistador. All of this and more at Rowan University. Again, that's Thursday night, April 17th at Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. And there's some other things we're working on. I know Dog has actually been in negotiations with 2 other universities they're trying to work with. I can't again talk about them, but I know there's that. There's always 2. They're working on the upcoming Roman College of Burlington County. So that's something that'll be really fun. And, we're working on that. That'll be the 3rd time we're back to RCBC. And we're working potentially with an amateur wrestling program to help do a fundraiser to support amateur wrestling. The pros helping the amateurs. Again, more details coming when the information's set, but I'm looking forward to that from top to bottom. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And if there's even more that's even worked on, I know we have a table in I believe it's in February. I have to check March. I have to check the date. But we're gonna have a table at a comic convention at Rowan University. There'll be one there, and I know there's also negotiation for another comic event that may be something coming up soon that I'll have information for. So there's a lot going on with Dog right now. Looks like 2025 is going to be really busy for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators.
And that's what we like to hear. And of course, we know that in the spring of 2025, IHWE is hoping to get back to it as well. So a lot of fun stuff happening here at the Alliance blog and our friendly promotions between Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators and Iconic Heroes of Wrestling Experience. I get that right, DK? You're still muted.
Well, what's a little meeting between friends? Yes, IHWE Professional Wrestling is still on track for a spring of 2025 comeback.
So a lot of good things coming up. Make sure you stay tuned to the Alliance blog when these events will happen. I'm sure we'll be posting those on the website and supporting them here on this live stream as well. That's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Thursday. Next Thursday, not next Thursday, a week from tonight, Danny Deals will join us live on the Alliance Guys podcast. And of course, Tuesday, I'll be here doing the pre-party, talking to all things NWA leading up to the second part of Saw Win live on the X. Not live, but previously recorded on the X. And we'll get to it. So again, thank you guys for being here. It was nice being back. I'm glad you guys can hang out with us. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we